"I fixed a woman's car on her way to a blind date," she said. "Your reward is a kiss. We'll meet again." The car was already smoking by the time I pulled over. I almost didn't stop. It was late, the sky was fading into that soft blue-gray that comes just before night, and I was tired in a way that sank into my bones. The kind of tired that makes you want to get home, kick off your shoes, and forget the rest of the world exists. But then I saw her standing on the side of the road. Hazard lights blinking. Hood popped open. Phone pressed to her ear, her shoulders tense like she was holding back tears. I don't know what made me stop. Maybe it was the way she kept glancing at her watch. Or the way she laughed nervously into the phone, saying, "No, it's fine, I'll figure it out," even though it clearly wasn't fine. I pulled over anyway. "Car trouble?" I asked, already knowing the answer. She turned, surprised, and for a moment just stared at me like she wasn't sure whether to trust me or not. Then she exhaled, hard. "Yes," she said. "And I'm officially the worst person alive today." That made me smile. "I doubt that. Mind if I take a look?" She hesitated, then nodded and stepped aside. "I don't really have a choice, do I?" Her car had overheated. Nothing dramatic, just a loose hose and an empty coolant reservoir. The kind of problem that feels like the end of the world if you don't know what you're looking at. I grabbed the old toolkit I kept in my trunk, something my dad insisted I carry ever since I was 16, and got to work. As I did, she hovered nearby, pacing. "I'm supposed to be on a blind date," she blurted out. "Ah," I said. "That explains the stress." She laughed, but it was thin. "I've already canceled twice." This was my, "Okay, I'm really going to try," moment. And now my car decides to die on the side of the road. "Cars have a sense of timing," I said. "A cruel one." She smiled at that, and it was warm. Genuine. "I'm Claire," she said. "And thank you for stopping. Most people just didn't." "I'm Ethan," I replied. "And you're welcome. I've been the guy on the side of the road before. It's not fun." That seemed to settle something between us. While I worked, she talked. About the blind date, set up by her sister, of course. About how she'd moved to the city a year ago and still felt like she was standing on the outside of her own life, looking in. "I work all the time," she said. "And when I'm not working, I'm tired. Dating feels like another job interview. Without the benefits," I added. "Exactly." I tightened the hose, topped off the coolant with what I had, and wiped my hands on a rag. "Okay," I said. "Try starting it now." She slid into the driver's seat, turned the key, and the engine purred back to life. Her eyes went wide. "You're kidding." "Nope. Should be good to get you where you're going. Just keep an eye on the temperature." She got out of the car and stared at me like I'd just performed a magic trick. "I don't even know how to thank you," she said. "That's easy," I replied. "You say thank you." She laughed, then stopped, like she'd made a decision. "Actually," she said, stepping closer, "I promised myself I'd stop overthinking things." Before I could say a word, she leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't dramatic. Just soft, warm, and unexpected. When she pulled back, she smiled like she'd surprised herself. "That's your reward," she said. "And, we'll meet again." I blinked. "We will?" She nodded. "I believe in signs." "And you showing up tonight?" "That feels like one." Then she handed me a small card from her purse. Her name and number were written on it, slightly crooked, like she'd written it in a hurry. "Text me," she said. "Even if this blind date is a disaster. Especially if it is." And just like that, she got into her car and drove off, hazard lights blinking once more before disappearing down the road. I stood there for a long moment, the card warm in my hand, wondering if that had really just happened. I didn't text her that night. Not because I didn't want to, but because something about the moment felt complete on its own. Like it didn't need to be rushed or explained. The next morning, though, curiosity won. Ethan, did the car make it? Claire, it did. So did I. The date, not so much grinning face with sweat. I smiled at my phone. Ethan, I'm sorry. Claire, don't be. I think I needed that breakdown more than the date. We met for coffee a few days later. Then dinner. Then long walks where conversation stretched until we forgot what time it was. But life isn't a movie, and kindness doesn't always lead where you expect. A month later, she told me the truth. She'd been offered a job back home. A big one. The kind you don't say no to. I didn't plan on this, she said quietly. Meeting you. Feeling this. But I can't stay. I nodded, even though it hurt. I know. On her last night in the city, we stood by her car again, this time not broken, just waiting. I guess this is where we pretend we're fine, she said. I'm not very good at pretending, I admitted. She smiled sadly. Neither am I. She hugged me, long and tight. You reminded me that there are still good people in the world, she said. People who stop. People who help. I needed that more than you know. She kissed me once more, gentler this time, then got into her car and drove away. Months passed. Life went on. And then one afternoon, my phone buzzed. Claire, my car just broke down again. Claire, funny thing is. I'm in your city. I laughed out loud. Somewhere between kindness and chance, between stopping and walking away, life has a way of circling back. Sometimes, all it takes is pulling over, and choosing to help, to change two lives, even if only for a moment. And sometimes, those moments come back to find you when you least expect them.